If tolerating disrespect made you virtuous, some of you should have rooms full of trophies by now. So let me ask you gently but directly, where are the trophies? Where are the medals? Where is the crown? For all the times you swallowed pain quietly, where is the award for every insult you absorbed, every humiliation you explained away, every apology you accepted without change, every boundary you abandoned to keep the peace, every time you called emotional destruction long suffering? Because many women have been taught a very dangerous version of virtue. They have been taught that virtue means tolerating dishonor, that virtue means being quiet when you are being harmed, that virtue means staying soft while someone keeps hardening against you, that virtue means forgiving quickly, staying available, enduring disrespect, and calling your own suffering strength. And if the abuse is hidden, spiritual, emotional, psychological, or even physical, people will still tell you, be patient, be gracious, don't react, don't expose them, don't be bitter, don't destroy the home. God sees your heart, keep praying, just endure. And slowly, a woman begins to believe that her pain is proof of her goodness, that the more she survives, the more virtuous she is, that the more she is mistreated without fighting back, the more honorable she becomes. And I need you to hear me clearly. Being abused is not an achievement. Being dishonored is not a spiritual qualification. Being emotionally destroyed is not evidence that you are becoming a better woman. And tolerating what is breaking you does not automatically make you virtuous. Sometimes it only means you were trained to participate in your own erasure. And I know that may feel confronting, but stay with me. Because many women are not enabling their own harm because they are foolish. They are enabling it because they were miseducated. They were taught to value endurance without discernment. They were taught to value peace without truth. They were taught to value loyalty without safety. They were taught to value forgiveness without accountability. They were taught to value submission without protection. They were taught to value being called good more than being whole. And that kind of teaching can make a woman spiritually confused because she is suffering, but she thinks suffering means she is doing well. She is shrinking, but she calls it humility. She is afraid, but she calls it respect. She is silent, but she calls it wisdom. She is exhausted, but she calls it sacrifice. She is being used, but she calls it love. And over time, the abuse continues because the abuser learned something. They learned that your virtue can be used as access. They learn that your patience can be stretched. They learn that your forgiveness can be exploited. They learn that your silence can protect them. They learn that your desire to be good can be turned against you. And that is where this becomes dangerous. Because when you tolerate repeated harm in the name of virtue, you are not only suffering, you may be helping the system remain unchallenged. You may be teaching the person harming you that there is no real consequences. You may be teaching your own nervous system that peace means self-abandonment. You may be teaching your soul that your pain does not matter. And you may be teaching the next generation that a woman's highest calling is to survive mistreatment quietly. That is not virtue. That is conditioning. Virtue is not absence of boundaries. Virtue is not the death of your voice. Virtue is not letting people destroy you while you smile politely. Virtue is not becoming an emotional punching bag so someone else can avoid accountability. Virtue is moral strength. Virtue is wisdom. Virtue is truth. Virtue is courage. Virtue is integrity. Virtue is knowing when patience has become permission for harm. Virtue is knowing when forgiveness is being used to erase accountability. Virtue is knowing when silence is no longer peace but agreement with your own destruction. And some of you need to ask yourself a hard question. What has my tolerance actually produced? Has it produced repentance? Has it produced repair? Has it produced safety? Has it produced truth? Has it produced accountability? Has it produced healing? Or has it produced more harm, more entitlement, more disrespect, more fear, more confusion, more shrinking, more pain? Because fruit matters. If your tolerance keeps producing your destruction and their comfort, then maybe what you are calling virtue is actually a cage, and the cage may be decorated with spiritual language. It may be decorated with culture. It may be decorated with family. It may be decorated with family exploitation. It may be decorated with wife material. It may be decorated with good woman. It may be decorated with carry your cross. But a cage is still a cage. And if the only trophy you have gained from tolerating abuse is anxiety, sickness, fear, depression, self-doubt, lost years, lost confidence, lost identity, and a broken sense of self, then you need to start calling that virtue. You need to start calling it what it is, harm. And let me say this carefully. This is not to blame you. This is to wake you up. Because sometimes the most loving thing truth can do is interrupt the lie that has been keeping you loyal to your own suffering. You are not weak because you tolerated too much. You may have been taught that tolerating too much made you good. You are not foolish because you stayed. You may have been taught that living meant failure. You are not crazy because you kept hoping. You may have been taught that love means endless chances. But now you are learning. And learning must change what you permit. Because once you know that your suffering is being used to protect someone else's comfort, you cannot unknow it. Once you know that your silence is helping the pattern continue, you cannot unknow it. Once you know that virtue without wisdom can become vulnerability, you cannot unknow it. And this is where your life can begin to shift. You stop asking, how much can I endure? And you start asking, what is this endurance producing? You stop asking, will people call me good? Asking, am I whole? You stop asking, how do I keep the peace? You start asking, is this peace built on my disappearance? You stop asking, have I forgiven enough? You start asking, has there been enough accountability for this to be safe? That is not bitterness. That is discernment. That is wisdom. That is wisdom returning to virtue. That is a woman learning that her goodness was never supposed to make her easy to destroy, because God is not honored by your baseless suffering. God is not glorified by abuse being tolerated quietly. God does not need your body, mind, spirit, and dignity crushed so that someone else can keep looking respectable. God is not pleased when his daughter calls destruction devotion. And if someone taught you that he is, they misrepresented him. So, dear woman, if you have been collecting invisible trophies for surviving what should have been confronted, it is time to put the illusion down. There is no medal for being a doormat. There is no crown for enabling someone else's cruelty. There is no holy award for disappearing inside a relationship, marriage, family, church, or system that keeps harming you. The real crown is not found in surviving dishonor indefinitely. The real crown is found in remembering who you are before dishonor convinces you that you deserve it. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to leave the room. You are allowed to set boundaries. You are allowed to stop protecting the image of someone who keeps damaging your reality. You are allowed to refuse the kind of virtue that requires your emotional or physical destruction. You are allowed to become wise, not hard. Wise, not bitter. Clear, not rebellious. Awake. Because a virtuous woman is not a woman with no boundaries. A virtuous woman is not a woman with no voice. A virtuous woman is not a woman who tolerates every form of dishonor and calls it love. A virtuous woman is clothed with strength and dignity. Strength and dignity. Not silence and depletion. Not fear and self-erasure. Strength and dignity. So, maybe the question is not, how many trophies have I won for enduring abuse? Maybe the question is, what did I lose while trying to win approval from a definition of virtue that was never designed to protect me? This is Redefine Your Narrative. And maybe the narrative you need to redefine is this: virtue was never supposed to make me an enabler of my own destruction. God bless you.